The Henderson family Christmas Eve gathering followed its usual script, expensive gifts exchanged with theatrical flourish in the mansion's grand living room. My sister Amanda unveiled her new Mercedes from her husband. My brother Thomas received keys to a beachfront condo. Then came my turn. "Here, Sarah," Mom said, sliding a manila envelope across the antique coffee table. "We finally figured out what to do with that worthless land your grandfather left us." I opened the envelope, already knowing what I'd find. The deed to 300 acres of New Mexico desert, land that had been sitting untouched in the family portfolio for decades. "It's perfect for Sarah," Amanda smirked, adjusting her designer watch. "She always did like playing in the dirt with her geology degree. At least she'll have somewhere to do her, what do you call it? Rock collecting?" Thomas added. "Mineralogical surveying," I corrected quietly, tucking the deed into my bag. "And thank you. I appreciate it." "Oh honey," Mom patted my hand. "We know it's not much compared to everyone else's gifts. But what else can we do with empty desert?" My phone buzzed in my pocket. I didn't need to check it. I knew it was another update from the NASA Geological Survey team. They'd been texting me hourly since their initial findings 3 days ago. "It's a thoughtful gift," I said, reaching for another Christmas cookie. "Really? Maybe you can build one of those tiny houses out there," Amanda suggested. "Since your research doesn't exactly pay for real estate." I bit into the cookie to hide my smile, remembering the government's initial offer. $12.4 billion was a bit more than tiny house money. Speaking of real estate, Thomas jumped in. "My new development project broke ground last week. Prime beachfront property. Now that's how you make real money in land." My phone buzzed again. Probably the Department of Energy this time. They'd been particularly persistent since discovering the rare earth deposits were even larger than initially estimated. "How interesting," I murmured, brushing cookie crumbs from my sensible sweater. "Tell me more about the beachfront." 30 luxury units, he boasted. Each selling for at least $8 million. That's real value, not just empty sand. Mom nodded approvingly. "This is why we worried about your career choice, Sarah. Your siblings understand business, investments." "I understand rocks," I finished for her. "Yes, I know." Another buzz. The Chinese government this time? They'd been quite interested in opening negotiations ever since their satellites confirmed the mineral analysis. "Well," Dad cleared his throat, "at least the land will give you somewhere to pursue your interests. Away from the city. Away from embarrassing them," he meant. The daughter with the rock collection didn't quite fit their image of success. "Actually," I said, reaching for my coat, "I should probably head out there tomorrow. Do a preliminary survey. On Christmas Day." Mom looked scandalized. "But the family brunch." "Rocks don't celebrate holidays," I smiled. "And I'd like to get started while the weather's good." "Started on what?" Amanda scoffed. "Building a science lab in the desert." My phone buzzed yet again. The Department of Defense now, based on the ringtone. They'd been particularly interested in the strategic implications of the deposits. "Something like that," I said vaguely. "Thank you again for the gift. It's exactly what I wanted." "Well, it's not like anyone else had use for it," Mom sighed. "The taxes alone." "I'll take care of those," I assured her, thinking of the bidding war that was about to begin. "Don't worry about the expenses. On your researcher's salary." Thomas snorted. "Good luck with that." I stood, gathering my things. You'd be surprised what a geology degree can be worth these days. "Speaking of worth," Dad said, "we tried to sell that land years ago. Couldn't get more than a few thousand for the whole parcel." "Markets change," I observed mildly. "Value isn't always obvious at first glance." My phone buzzed one final time. The NASA team again, with updated mineral density readings. The numbers made me glad I was already standing. They might have knocked me over otherwise. "At least take some Christmas dinner leftovers," Mom insisted. "If you're going to spend the holiday playing in the dirt." "I'll be fine," I assured her, accepting the carefully packed container. "The local hotels are quite nice actually. The government survey teams have been keeping them busy." Government survey teams. Dad's business instincts perked up. Why would they? "Just routine geological studies," I said quickly. Nothing exciting. Lots of rocks, like you said. I made my goodbyes, accepting their pitying looks with practiced grace. Let them enjoy their beachfront condos and luxury cars. I had a different kind of wealth waiting in those worthless desert acres. In my car, I finally checked my phone. The latest mineral analysis confirmed what we'd suspected: the largest deposit of rare earth elements ever discovered in North America. Critical materials for everything from renewable energy to advanced weapons systems. The government's offer had jumped to $15 billion. I started my car, watching through the window as my family continued their gift exchange. Tomorrow they'd wake to their expensive presents and Christmas brunch, never suspecting that their thoughtful gift to their disappointing daughter had just made her the wealthiest person in the family. Christmas morning dawned bright and clear over the New Mexico desert. I stood on a rocky outcrop, watching government helicopters circle the property, my property now, like excited vultures. Dr. Henderson, a NASA geologist, hurried over, tablet in hand. The latest spectral analysis just came in. You'll want to see this. I took the tablet, scanning the numbers that would have looked like gibberish to my family. Each figure represented millions, sometimes billions, in strategic minerals. But it was the new data that made my breath catch. These readings can't be right, I murmured. The concentration levels. We've checked them 3 times, he confirmed. It's the richest deposit we've ever recorded. The Chinese satellite data confirms it. My phone rang, the family group chat lighting up with Christmas morning photos. Amanda showing off her Mercedes. Thomas posting pictures from his beachfront condo. Mom coordinating brunch plans. I switched to my other phone, the secure government line that hadn't stopped ringing since the discovery. Dr. Henderson, the Department of Energy representative, didn't waste time on pleasantries. We're prepared to revise our offer to $18 billion, with exclusive mining rights. The Chinese offered 20, I replied calmly, watching another helicopter circle. And the Europeans are joining the bidding today. 25, he counted immediately. Final offer. National security implications require domestic control. I'll consider it, I said, ending the call as a fleet of black SUVs approached across the desert floor. My regular phone buzzed again. A text from Mom: hope you're enjoying your rocks, dear. Save some appetite for tomorrow's leftovers. If she only knew those rocks had just sparked an international bidding war. That her unwanted Christmas gift was about to reshape global mineral markets. The SUVs arrived, disgorging a mix of government officials and corporate executives. All here to court the daughter they assumed was still living on a researcher's salary. Dr. Henderson, a familiar voice called. I turned to find Marcus Chen, CEO of Global Tech Industries, approaching. I believe we discussed this land at last year's geology conference. When you theorized about rare earth deposits in this region. I remember, I smiled. You said my theories were interesting but speculative. He had the grace to look embarrassed. I'd like to revise that assessment. And make an offer that reflects your vindicated expertise. I'm sure you would. I gestured to the helicopters still circling. You're not the only one. My family chat buzzed again. Thomas bragging about his development project's profit projections. Mere millions that now seemed like pocket change. Your initial survey work, Marcus continued, identifying these deposits before any major geological study, it was brilliant. We'd like you to head our new mining division. Name your price. I thought of all the times my family had dismissed my rock collecting as a hobby. How they'd laughed at my decision to get a PhD in geology instead of an MBA. I appreciate the offer, I said, but I prefer to maintain independent ownership. Though I'm open to discussing extraction rights. More vehicles were arriving, European mining consortiums, tech company representatives, government officials from 3 different countries. All here for my Christmas gift of worthless desert. My phone lit up with another family text. Amanda this time. Sarah, you're missing Mom's Christmas brunch. Don't tell me you're still playing in the dirt. I typed back, just finishing up some important meetings. Meetings? In the desert? On Christmas, followed by crying laughing emojis. I pocketed the phone as a military helicopter landed nearby. A general stepped out, making a beeline for my position. Dr. Henderson, he called over the rotor's whine. The Pentagon is prepared to classify this entire region as strategically vital. We can offer 30 billion, I finished for him. I saw the authorization this morning. But the Chinese are at 35, and rising. He blinked, thrown by my casual reference to classified information. You seem well informed. I've been studying these deposits for years, I replied. Did you think I wouldn't know their true value? My regular phone buzzed yet again. Dad, this time, hope you're not wasting your whole Christmas out there. Real estate only has value if you can develop it. I smiled, watching another corporate jet circle for landing. The world's power brokers converging on land my family couldn't give away fast enough. Dr. Henderson. Marcus Chen was back, looking anxious. About that offer. Yes. Global Tech is prepared to go to 40 billion. Plus royalties on all extracted materials. I pretended to consider while watching the general's face redden. The bidding war was about to go nuclear. Literally, these minerals were critical for weapons systems. Interesting, I said mildly. Though I should warn you, the Europeans are announcing their joint bid this afternoon. I believe it starts at 50 billion. My phone buzzed one final time. Mom asking if I'd be back for dinner, or if I was still playing scientist in my new sandbox. I looked around at the assembled powers competing for my Christmas gift. At the helicopters and jets and government vehicles covering land my family had thought worthless. Tell them I'm afraid I'll be tied up in meetings, I typed back. Important business negotiations, you might say. 2 days after Christmas, I sat in my family's living room again, a stack of newspapers on the coffee table between us. The headlines screamed what I'd known since before their gift. Largest rare earth deposit in history discovered. Global powers compete for strategic minerals. Desert land valued at $50+ billion. Mom's coffee cup clattered against its saucer. Dad kept picking up newspapers, reading headlines, then setting them down like they might bite. Amanda and Thomas sat in stunned silence. This is your land, Dad finally managed. The land we gave you. Yes, I said simply, sipping my tea. $50 billion, Amanda whispered. The land we laughed about is worth $50 billion. Actually, I set down my cup, the current high bid is 62 billion. The European consortium increased their offer an hour ago. Thomas grabbed one of the papers. Dr. Sarah Henderson, leading geological expert, discovered the deposits during independent research spanning several years, he read aloud. You knew. You knew before we gave it to you. I suspected, I corrected. The satellite data confirmed it 3 days before Christmas. Just in time for your generous gift. All those times we teased you about studying rocks. Mom's voice trailed off. Turned out rather profitable, didn't it? I smiled. Though I suppose it's still not as impressive as a beachfront condo development. Thomas flinched. His $8 million unit seemed laughably small now. Why didn't you say anything? Dad demanded. When we gave you the deed. Would you have believed me? I asked quietly. You've spent years dismissing my work as a hobby. Would you have taken me seriously if I'd told you what lay beneath that worthless sand? The room fell silent except for the rustle of newspapers as they continued reading, trying to grasp the magnitude of their Christmas generosity. The military involvement. Dad was reading deeper now, his business mind engaging. The strategic implications are why every major power is trying to secure mining rights, I nodded. These minerals are essential for everything from smartphones to missile guidance systems. Whoever controls them controls the future, he finished, looking at me with new eyes. And you found them. My daughter, the rock collector. My secure phone buzzed, probably the Chinese raising their bid again. I ignored it. Do you know what I remember most clearly? I asked, picking up one of the papers. Last Thanksgiving, when you all were discussing real careers and real success. Amanda said I was wasting my potential. Mom suggested I get an MBA instead of playing in the dirt. And Thomas, what was it you said about my research grant? That it wouldn't buy a decent car, he mumbled, staring at his shoes. And now? I gestured to the headlines. What's the conversion rate between geology degrees and luxury cars these days? Amanda was still processing numbers. 62 billion, that makes you the wealthiest person in the family. I suggested. By several orders of magnitude, yes. Amazing what you can find if you study enough rocks. Mom was crying softly now. We were trying to help, giving you that land. We thought. You thought you were unloading a worthless burden on the daughter who couldn't do better, I finished for her. I know exactly what you thought. My regular phone chimed, the family chat lighting up as relatives discovered the news. The same people who'd mocked my career choice were suddenly very interested in my rock collection. What happens now? Dad asked, ever the pragmatist. Now. I stood, smoothing my sensible skirt. Now I go back to my meetings with world leaders and corporate executives. We're finalizing the mining rights structure this week. The GDP of several small nations is at stake. And us. Thomas ventured. The family. I looked around at them, my accomplished, successful family, who'd spent years pitying my choices. That depends. Are you interested in actually understanding what I do now? Or just in what it's worth? I'd like to understand, Mom said quietly. Really understand this time. Then let me show you something. I pulled out my tablet, bringing up the geological surveys. See these formations? 5 years ago, I noticed an unusual pattern. For the next hour, I walked them through the science they'd dismissed for so long. Explained how careful study and expertise had revealed what satellite scans and corporate surveys had missed. Showed them that success doesn't always wear a business suit or come with an MBA. My secure phone buzzed again, the Department of Defense, according to the ringtone. Excuse me, I said, standing. I have a call with the Joint Chiefs about mineral security protocols. The Joint Chiefs of Staff. Dad blinked. You're meeting with the highest levels of military and government leadership? Yes. Turns out geology degrees can open some interesting doors. I gathered my things, leaving the newspapers scattered across the coffee table. Let them read every detail of what they'd given away. Let them calculate exactly how wrong they'd been. Sarah, Mom called as I reached the door. We're sorry. For everything we said, everything we assumed. I know, I said, turning back. But you know what's better than an apology? Learning to value things, and people, for what they are, not what you think they should be. My phone buzzed one final time. The European consortium had raised their bid again. 70 billion now. I have to go, I said. International negotiations wait for no one. But maybe next family dinner, instead of talking about real estate developments and luxury cars, you'd like to hear about rare earth elements. They nodded eagerly, these people who had spent years dismissing my passion as a hobby. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just proving people wrong. It's teaching them to finally see what was right in front of them all along. Even if it was buried under what they thought was worthless desert sand.